record this so I can send a recording out later. So, all right, well, let's get into it. And so some of the slides I'm going to go through pretty quickly because they're the same thing that we've covered in the past. But the first one that I want to talk about is pausing and how powerful it can be to pause, especially during the holiday season, especially during times when we're super stressed or there's a lot on our minds or we're feeling just overwhelmed, right? And I've given you some before, but I've came up with a couple of others. And the idea here is that even if you can pause just for very briefly, a minute or even less than a minute will be helpful. I think 2 to 3 or 4 minutes is even more helpful if you can do that. And you'll see a couple of these that I'm going to recommend, which I came across from the New York Times has a great column called Well. And if you subscribe to the Times, you can get it, I think, in your inbox. This is where I get it by Tara Parker Pope. Anyway, the first one that she recommends is what she calls exercise snacks. And it's simply the idea that, instead of getting stressed that we need to take a full hour, for example, of exercise to go to the gym or to do a full thing, to take brief little snacks of exercise. And so it could mean, some quick stretching, quick little bursts of things that you can do. Might be some stair climbing or some wall push-ups, something to get the blood going, jumping jacks, lunges, fast walking, whatever it is, but something that you could do in 5 minutes, maybe even. So that's the first one. Second one is gratitude photo. So you probably heard me talk and others talk about how helpful it is to cultivate our gratitude. And I think it's hard for many people to start a gratitude journal or to do a regular gratitude list. If you're doing that, that's fantastic. But a gratitude photo is simply what it says, just as you come across something that you're grateful for, take a picture of it. And the trick, though, is to then take a moment to sit with it and savor it and let it sink in. And then maybe share it on social media or with friends or family, that kind of a thing. So gratitude photo. The next is what she calls the 5-finger meditation. And this is very simple. You can do it with me right now. If you hold your hand up, and with the other hand, you just trace your hand. So as you go up, you breathe in, and as you come back down, you breathe out. So in, out, in, out, in, out, in, and out. And then I'll stop with the instruction, but we'll go back the other direction and just follow that pattern. Okay, so this is a great pause because it obviously helps us get in touch with our breathing, and it gives us a very specific, measured way to do that. But it also grounds us through that tactile sense, feeling the finger, going through the hand. And, it's just a great way to stop and center and ground yourself. So the next one is giving yourself the best hours of your day. So the idea here is that, we all have, the time of day which we seem to operate or perform or feel the best. For some, it's the morning time. For some, it's later at night, or it might be sometime in the middle of the day. So think about what's the best hours for you. And think about what you typically do during those hours. And are you giving them to somebody else? Are you spending time during that optimal time doing emails, things that really aren't very good for you? Or, in other words, optimize that time for yourself and ask yourself what matters to me. What's the best thing that I can do during that time? If it's something creative that you need to do at work or something that you really need to focus in on, that's the time to do that. The next one is print a feelings list. And I like this one because so often we are not being in touch with our feelings. And simply acknowledging and labeling feelings as they come up, especially when we're in a period of overwhelm, can be very helpful. So what this is that she says every day when you say, for example, brush your teeth or make your coffee, something you tie it to, okay? So some regular daily routine. Think of that word that describes how you're doing. So in other words, it's a check-in, it's a quick, how am I doing right now? At that time when you're brushing your teeth or making your coffee, and come up with a word. And don't, avoid standard like I'm doing okay or, something like that. Whoops. Try to come up with something a little bit more specific. Maybe it's unsettled or energetic or delighted or frazzled or something like that. So try to be as specific as you can. And that's a great way to get in touch with the feeling side, to label them. And then the last one, I love this one. I checked it out. Watch the Jellyfish. So if you like, I'll send you these slides and you'll have the link here. And this is a link to the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and they're just simply jellyfish. And so it's sort of an alternative, not really meditation, but it's a way to kind of just pause and just watch these beautiful creatures floating around. And it's really quite mesmerizing. So quick way to take that pause and take a few moments to take your mind offline. That's really kind of the bottom line of all these, is to give our mind a rest, and especially during these busy holiday times. So we've done this before, but the myths of the holidays, these photos, I'll just kind of go through this quickly. The photos are of all these great holiday scenes, and thinking about all the different messages we get about how the holidays are supposed to be, right? The songs, the commercials, the TV shows, all the media gives us about what those are. So think about what are some of your myths, things that perhaps a little bit tucked away in the subconscious, that things that you have beliefs about the holidays. You can think of them as, what are some of the shoulds that we have around our holidays? And so these are done by my colleague Vivian, and I think they're great because they cover everything. Everybody should be joyous. Family gatherings are full of harmony and love. Romance abounds. Children are angelic and appreciative. And giving and receiving gifts is pleasant and fulfilling. So, we know that some of these things are myths and they don't always happen, and we kind of set ourselves up. So I think getting in touch with what are some of your own myths and beliefs, just to raise them to the level of awareness so that you don't get caught up in them and trapped by them. And that's really kind of the trick. Again, I'm going to go through this stuff kind of quickly. I want to make sure I do mention, dealing with loneliness and grief. If there are losses that come up at this time of year, and many of us have somebody that we think about, and it's difficult, right? It brings up very sad feelings. It brings up a lot for us. So, again, that exercise about simply labeling your feeling, but also the RAIN exercise. This is something we've done in our mindfulness classes, can be very helpful. Recognize what's going on, label it, acknowledge it, allow life to be as it is instead of pushing it away, and then spend a little time investigating it with kindness, investigating it internally. And that's really what this exercise is about. What are you thinking about it? What emotions are going on, and what's going on in the body? They're all linked. And the N is just then a great way to nurture yourself or come back to natural awareness, but not to identify with these things that are going on, not to get caught up and get totally swept away by those very powerful feelings. So that's RAIN. So let me lots of holiday stress. What I want to do is, we covered this, I want to make sure we get to, well, first of all, the meditation. But what I'd like to cover also is this slide on boundaries. And I just think this is such an important concept to cover, in that we can create some time for ourselves. We can create boundaries with people, with work, with watching our phones and other digital conveniences that really do make it difficult. We get triggered by all this stuff. Carving out time, for example, being careful with certain media, certain TV, for example, if we're doing that too much. Carving in time for things that make us feel better, whatever that is. It might be spending time with someone we really want to spend time with. So these are just some suggestions here on this slide. Stepping away from work, detaching from those digital triggers, learning to say no. And this is probably one of the hardest things. And over on the right there, saying yes because you want to, not out of obligation or to please others. So, and this is where I think it's important to kind of ask ourselves the question, what are some things that are our priorities, things that really matter to us? And making sure you carve out that time for yourself and your family. So concept of boundaries is real important. Let me pause there and just see any questions or comments. I mean, Nick, I know I've kind of thrown a lot at you. These are meant to be kind of brief and cover a lot, but any thoughts or questions that you have at this point about boundaries, or some of those pauses that I talked about, or some of the myths? All right, I do want to make sure we have time for our meditation. So let's do that next. So I'll come back here and let's take some time to just kind of get in touch with all of that. And this is called Take a Few Minutes to Diffuse Holiday Stress. And what we're going to do is we're going to sit for well, let's say maybe 6 or 7 minutes. Let's try for that, okay? And we're going to bring to mind some of the things that are going on for us in the next few weeks, holiday related or not, could be other stressors, right? And when I bring this up in the meditation, just maybe bring up something that's manageable. Maybe it's still a little stressful, but nothing that's too overwhelming. So we'll start, as we often do, by sitting comfortably, finding that good position for yourself, paying attention to your spine and how you're sitting, your posture, where your hands are resting, feet flat on the floor, and just centering and grounding yourself in the body first. You can close your eyes, or if you prefer, you can keep them slightly open with a downward gaze in front of you. And first, we'll just check in and just notice what's going on for you right now. Whether you feel stressed or relaxed or anything else, for a moment, see if it can just let it all be. Without judgment or any expectation, just notice it and come back to the next breath. So taking a few moments to center in on your breathing. As you breathe in, feel that sense of filling and nourishing. And as you breathe out, feel that sense of releasing and letting go and relaxing. Nourishing on the in-breath, maybe even breathing right into your heart. Letting go of tension and stress and worry on the out-breath. In and out. Now picture the next few weeks and take a moment to notice what comes to mind when you picture the next week or so, what you're facing. And notice, how does your body feel when you do this? Is it tight, or is restless, or even nauseated or exhausted? Just notice how you feel it in the body. Let it be, and then come back to the breath again. Using the breath as an anchor. So breathing in that nourishment, breathing out relaxation and release. Coming back to that reflection on what you're facing, perhaps some of the stress, and noticing what thoughts arise. Maybe there's a conflicting swirl of pictures of what is going to happen, what might be. Stress over what seems possible, or planning, or presence, or travel, or whatever it is. And just notice these thoughts as mental events arising in the mind. And if you just, without getting caught up in them, you can see that they come and they go. And let them go. Let them drift away like clouds in an open sky. If it helps, you might want to label them. Might be worry thoughts, or planning thoughts, or fretting, comparing. Or not necessarily negative. There might be thoughts around getting together with loved ones, or being warm and safe and cozy. So just notice these thoughts. And as you do that, just be aware of any feelings that are associated with these. And in the same way, just notice them arise. And again, see if you can just notice them come and go and not get caught up in them. Maybe there's some mix of excitement and joy and dread and tiredness. Whatever it is, just notice. Now see if you can reframe these feelings and thoughts and realize they're just energizing you. They're kind of your mind's way of raising them to the surface, but they're energizing you to meet the challenges and demands ahead. getting your body and mind ready to be their best. And so what we need to do is focus and harness that energy. And a way to do that is through the breath, it's through an anchor. So anytime you like, you can come back to the breath, feeling that nourishment on the in-breath, the relaxation and letting go on the out-breath. And that's another thing we can really practice, is this sense of letting go. Might be the image of that perfect meal, or someone who did something that bothers you, or something that's coming up to derail your plans. Just see if you can let that all go, returning to the breath, noticing, wanting things to be a certain way. Just noticing, not engaging, and just anytime it's helpful, returning to breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in, nourishment. Breathing out, tension, releasing. Right now, there's nothing to do, no one to be, nowhere to go. In this moment, sitting here, this is all there is. Some other time might be for acting or thinking or doing. Right now, just relax and allow yourself to just be. Letting go of fixing and moving, and just focusing on the breath and allowing yourself to be. And then beginning to come to a close, shift your attention to someone you care about. And take a few moments to focus on this person or persons, friends and family. Picture them, wish them well wherever they are. Maybe wishing them peace, happiness, and health, safe travels. Send those well wishes out. And now focus on yourself. This is a time of stress, perhaps, but wish yourself whatever you did for your family, ease or peace or happiness. And take a moment to be grateful for whatever comes to mind. And just feel that gratitude. And when you're ready, take a nice deep breath. Let yourself relax again a bit more and slowly open your eyes. And kind of notice what that felt like for you. Okay, how are we all doing?
Very good. Thank you.
Good. We're getting close to the 12:30 time. The last thing I'll leave you with is, there's other people involved, right? Usually. And this is where mindful listening can be helpful. So to really kind of tune into listening more than ever, to hearing the words of the other person, to kind of listening between the lines, listening to ourselves. Try that. That's another way to kind of navigate the holiday stress, I think, is rather than, sometimes we can get triggered or we get into a state of reaction to what other people say. See if you could just listen and use that ability that we just did, for example, to step back from that and then respond rather than react. Okay, so this is our last session. Actually, we didn't schedule one for next week, but let us know, Vivian or myself. Vivian is my colleague, Vivian Bergel. You can email either one of us. She's done a couple of the other sessions. let us know if there's anything we can help with. We have lots of resources. I'm going to send out a mindful e-tip pretty soon. I'm planning a couple things for the new year. We're still doing our phone meditations, of course, 5 days a week. I think you know about those. So take advantage of any of those resources. So, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
Did you
Well,
see
thank
my,
you.
Thank you.
my
you.
request, Bud, in the chat about sending me the recordings? Would that be possible so I can share them?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
I
From
will send
Vivian.
out- Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if she recorded the last session, but I sent you the first one. So let me
I
stop
think
this.
she did.